Welcome back to another everyday value mechanic video. Before we start, I would like to wish Happy New Year to all my viewers and subscribers, and thank you for supporting this channel. Also, special thank you to the Belly Dog who donated super sticker to my content. Thank you. So in today's video we have 2022 Ford Puma with 1 liter EcoBoost engine and manual gearbox. It was suspected that the flywheel was dual mass and have failed and made noise. Once clutch pedal was pressed, sound went away. We've seen this on many cars and 9 out of 10 situations is going to be flywheel that's making this knocking noise. So without any further ado, let's strip it down and see what actually went wrong. I start by disassembling the airbox, disconnecting the mass airflow sensor and 2 Jubilee clips for this air intake pipe, and then this upper cover can come off. The air filter, bottom part of the air filter housing, it's just held inside by the grommets. Just push clip, and then there's another Jubilee clip at the end of this intake pipe, so we loosen up and we can take it out. Now this vacuum line, just you press it on both sides and it should come off with little force. Just don't force it too much as it can easily crack as they are plastic. Now we have to remove the battery. I would always recommend to disconnect first the negative terminal rather than the positive. I did it here, but as I took extra precautions, so I know what I'm doing, it was alright on my occasion. Did not spark anyway. And there's a bracket at the top of this battery that holds the battery in place. There's 2 10mm nuts and 1 8mm bolt. Now the bracket can come off.
Now there's another bracket that slides it, keeps battery from sliding.
Take another bracket, sliding bracket off. Disconnect the negative terminal, and we can pull the battery out from the battery tray. Next we need to put aside this ECU.
We're still winning.
There's a 2 bolt that holds the ECU in place to the battery tray.
Screws. Yeah.
So once those both nuts are removed, you can then disconnect the ECU from the battery tray. Couple wirings and push clips. There's gonna be a lot of these wiring clips on this car.
2 10mm bolts and 1 nut, I see.
So there's 3 10mm nuts that holds the battery tray.
Okay.
Couple more wiring looms. And that's the battery tray disconnected. Try to remove this wiring loom, but it's the cable snapped. So not end of the days. So I'm gonna use the cable tie to secure this ECU, so it was not on our way and not dangling anywhere. As I can't remove it, it has a security bracket in front of it, and to remove that you would have to drill, and that's not what I wanted to do. There's another bracket held in by 2 10mm nuts, and again wiring loom. That's the battery tray bracket out.
Water leak. Somebody's worked here before.
Somebody's been here before already. I can see couple cable tie snapped or broken.
This
Or
one. This part.
you can see there's a coolant leak, and that's why there's not much coolant in the coolant expansion tank.
I'm gonna use zip
We will
ties
advise
to
customer for that
tie
as
this
well.
thing here.
I'm gonna secure these pipes as well, as underneath these pipes there is a bolt to gearbox bell housing,
Like so.
and they are on our way. Also, this wiring loom we secure it.
Gonna zip tie.
A lot of times you would not necessarily gonna need to do this. I'm doing for two reasons. I don't like when there's something on my way when I'm trying to remove something, and also is for video content, is more easy for you guys to see what I'm actually doing. Now we can disconnect the gear selector.
Say again?
It just
he
slips
said he
off
will
forward, and
order-
there's
no,
two
he
of
said
them.
for you to order it. Yeah.
And two 10mm bolts holding the gear selector cables to the gearbox.
10 mil.
That's one of them removed. Sorry, three
Another
bolts,
10
not
mil?
two bolts. And then
Okay,
one on
on
the
the
side, yeah. And that's the third one removed. Now the gear selector should be free. And also I will took it away. Not gonna use the cable ties, as you can just took these cables somewhere and they're not gonna go anywhere. They're gonna stay there. Now there's a couple earth straps and some sensors. One's gonna be the reverse sensor. So this earth strap goes behind this engine mount underneath it and connects to the engine bracket. We'll remove that later. There's another cable that goes inside the gearbox, that's gonna stay there, and the clutch fluid line. So that's gonna be your reverse switch. That also needs to be removed, disconnected. Switch itself, we can leave it inside. Another switch underneath, I believe that's gonna be switched to show you in what gear you're sitting at any moment. But you can't get really good access without removing this engine bracket. So we will disconnect that once we take the engine bracket off. And then this wiring loom, all the wiring loom goes on front of the gearbox bell housing bolts, and it just secures there. As I'm pulling, you can see it. I don't know why did they did this design when it goes like a loop backwards and then again forward. Maybe so it was out of the way for gear selector. Here we can see the wiring loom, and it's all attached to those two sensors. So reverse switch and the gear switch, in what gear the gearbox is selected. Now we have to disconnect this sensor switch, the reverse switch, but for some reason it don't want to budge. Here I'm applying quite a big force and I still can't take it off.
Fucking hell, this is like a glue.
Not good for video. Just kom. Nah.
Come on, why don't you come on? So it took me like a good time to wiggle it back and forth, and at this stage I already knew that something was not right.
A few moments later.
It is.
It is glued, yeah. It is
You
glued.
can hear it. Inside, yeah, look.
Ah, they broke it. It's been broken. And they put the glue because it doesn't hold in place,
Yeah,
probably.
got tiger seal on it. You can see, look.
Yeah, I can see the glue, yeah. And pieces are missing here. And there's nothing inside. So, yeah, you can see the glue. So I assume that they snapped it at some point, and because it's not holding, it was keep coming loose, they put the
How's
glue.
this one?
I'm sure there must be better ways to fix this without using a super glue.
Now we got access to the...
So now once this wiring loom is out of the way, we got access to our gearbox bell housing bolts, the screws into the cylinder block. There are three 15mm bolts. Two of them has a thread sticking out to locate the wiring loom.
And this is the third one.
And that's the third one out.
And this wire goes into the gearbox.
So this wire goes inside the gearbox, so we're gonna leave it hanging there.
Then again, it's a 2022.
And then this wiring loom we're gonna be able to remove once we remove the engine bracket. Now I can disconnect this air strap from the chassis.
You are? Yeah? Fucking mint. And then there's another 13, but not the back.
And then there's 13mm nut on the other side that holds this air strap in place. Once that nut is removed, we can take this air strap out of the way. Now I can take the wheels off.
Ten ignition on here, you had to put on these.
The under tray. And the wheel arch on the gearbox side.
Yeah.
There's screw and push clips that you unscrew slightly and then you can remove them. 32mm for the thresher bolts or hook bolts. And I use the air hammer to get the hook out of the way. It's quite stiff, so that's why I use this harsh method. Now the suspension arm ball joint. I use this tool to open the knuckle and slightly knock it in, and then use 10mm to open it. And as you open it, it opens that knuckle there. The ball joint goes inside, and then you can remove ball joint with ease, like so. Now we can remove this tool back. Now, using this tool you have to be careful because if you open too much you can actually snap the hub, break a piece away. Put this protector to protect the rubber on the ball joint or dust cover, and we just copy procedure on the other side. And again I put the cover on to protect on this side. Now I can get the thresher completely out from the hub assembly.
So this gearbox don't have any drain plug.
And I could not find the
I'm just gonna take the thresher directly
place
out.
to drain the
And then
gearbox
put the
oil
oil
out,
in the
so
tunnel.
what's gonna happen
Oil
as soon as I'm gonna remove the dry shaft, the
like that.
oil from the gearbox can start leak out, so prepare yourself to catch oil. Here I knocked my camera, but the dry shaft is out this stage. And same thing on the side, except you don't need to catch oil because all oil is already out while removing the first dry shaft on one side. Now the bottom engine mount. And the rest of the gearbox housing bolts. Now there's a lot of wiring or cable management there. There's a T30 bolt for this wiring bracket.
Another T25.
Another extra.
Oh, I'm talking to camera. And 2.8 mil. They low.
Taxi driver goes that. You guys pretend to ask.
Morning.
So they're both held in with 10mm bolts.
How are you?
I'm wonderful, you.
Yeah, not so bad.
Now there's quite a lot of wiring loom clips. I just use the pliers to get it out, to push them away from the clip. Quite a lot of cable management going on there. Now I'm gonna secure with the cable tie this wiring loom here, so it was also out of the way once we're gonna remove the gearbox.
Nothing is broken.
So here you can see we got plenty access here to all these bolts. Now we're left to disconnect the starter motor as it is attached to the gearbox. And there's a couple of things we have to remove from the top. You could do this at the very beginning when you start the job. So this boost pipe as well, that goes to the throttle body from the intercooler. Again, two Jubilee clips. Jubilee clips is 7mm. So I had here quite struggle as I assumed the car is like 2 years old and I don't think anybody has removed this one since, so it's from factory. So it took me some while to get it open, but with a little prying here and there I managed to get it off.
need to fix my Leon a bit as well.
And that's the boost pipe off. Now we got access to a couple more cables that is on our way to get access to the starter motor bolts. That's a bracket where all these cables are attached to. They're meant to be 10mm bolt that's holding it, but it was not there, so somebody was already doing something to it. Now we can remove the starter motor bolts. Using extended ratchet spanner to get access. There's not much space there. Well, if you're not filming, you might have more access. That still was quite awkward to get to. Now the starter motor is disconnected from the gearbox. We can just push it aside and leave it hanging there.
Wash fluid. I'm gonna use silver pliers.
This is not the best tool to clamp the clutch fluid hose, but they have never failed me, so bad habits. You don't have to clamp it a lot. If you use also silver pliers, then I recommend to clamp it a bit and check if it still leaks. Clamp it a bit stronger till it stops leaking. So there's this clip, you have to pull it out, and then the fluid line can be disconnected. Just it pulls outwards. I'm gonna put the cover just in case there's something leaking, so it doesn't drip on my head. Now what's left to support the engine. So now we can climb up and use a 21 for these 3 nuts and to disconnect it. And as soon as you disconnect, I recommend do it slowly, as you don't know how the engine gonna behave once it doesn't hold anymore, so we don't know which way it's gonna tilt or anything. Just do it slowly, and it's best thing if you have somebody underneath it just checking it if everything is going smooth. So far so good.
And then for the actual bracket is 50.
Now we need to disconnect the bottom engine mount bracket, that's gonna be rather than the engine mount. They are 15mm, these nuts, or these screws, bolts. And it's 3 of them. And this is gonna be the last one. Here I thought I'm gonna remove this engine mount as well, so you can guys have a better look. And easier to remove the bracket. And to my surprise, I noticed some black sand. And here we can see the engine mount rubber is just deteriorated completely.
Yeah, and when you press the clutch it goes away, yeah.
And it doesn't hold anything anymore. It's metal to metal. At this point I understand that the problem was not the clutch or the dual mass flywheel, but it's gonna be this engine mount. What was weird, when you press the clutch the sound went away, so that was what pull the sawless away. And customer still said still to proceed to change the clutch and flywheel. He didn't want to take chances. So there's the last 3 bolts that's left to remove before we can remove the gearbox. Typically, once all the bolts remove, you can feel the clutch, not the clutch, the gearbox drops slightly, and you start wiggling and it starts coming off. But in this occasion, it was nothing. It was like almost glue or welded to the engine block. And we used prying tools, hammers, and everything else to get it moving.
Six and a half hours later.
Now finally we managed to get gearbox moving a bit. And once you get it, the tool inside, and that's it, it's coming off. And that's the gearbox off.
10 mil for the
Now we proceed to remove the clutch pressure plate. That is with the 10mm bolt all around. So we can see the Ford, so this is a genuine one, as you expect in a 2-year-old car. And here again, I told the customer there's nothing wrong with the flywheel, as the flywheel is single mass flywheel, it's not the dual mass as we thought it's gonna be. But he insisted to be replaced as he didn't want to take any chances. And this piece of metal can't make any noise, only if the bolts are not secured correctly. And as it is 2-year-old car, you can't really get much parts for it. So he just got from another car. I think there was the dealer said there's about like 3 months waiting to get this tool, as they're still installing, not the tool, the flywheel, as they're still installing in a new car, so there's not much for sale. And another tip here, there's only one way how you can install the flywheel, so the all bolts aligned correctly. I put here 2 bolts to secure from engine spinning or flywheel spinning, so I can torque them correctly. It is the E12 bolts, and the procedure: first you put finger tight, and then you go ahead. First is 10 Newton meters, all the bolts. Following by 25 Newton meters of torque. Then the 4th step is 15 Newton meters. And the last step is 90 degrees.
And this is E12.
And my battery died, and as I was focusing torquing, I did not notice, so I lost that part of the footage. But most you can understand. The last step was just 90 degrees. Now we put the clutch inside, with the pressure plate. I use my trusty screwdriver and my eyesight to center it. You can get the tools to center the clutch. We have it in the garage, but I found this way more quicker for me. Now the drive plate, not the drive plate, the pressure plate is 30 Newton meters and it's 10 millimeter bolt. Oh, actually it's 29, but I put 30.
So here I forgot to press play. We put in back gearbox, but that's all we do. We just put the gearbox and put these 3 bolts here and 1 bolt at the back. So
now I can proceed to fit back the clutch fluid line and this wiring loom. As you have to do this before you put this mount back on, as if you're gonna put the mount back, you're not gonna be able to anymore to push that sensor on. Wiring loom. And here the customer supplied himself the engine mount. Again, it was not available to purchase from anyone, and the dealers again said it's quite a long time, so this is the one that we removed from the car. That was completely naked and was all time knocking. And this is how they're supposed to be. Solid. With free to almost none free play. It's not obviously perfect brand new, but definitely better than it was before. 2 15mm bolts and then 3 21mm nuts. Again, before you're using any electric tools or pneumatic tools, screw a couple threads with the hands to make sure it's aligned correctly. It's so easy to cross thread any bolt. And then it's always a good practice to go over with any hand tools, manual tools, as you don't know. Sometimes the battery can be empty. It will create a massive sound, sounding like it's torqued to it. It's almost snapping, but actually it's loose. Here we can take, once the engine mount is installed back, we can remove this engine support or engine gearbox jack. Then this bracket goes back on. And the bottom engine, the bell housing bolts.
yeah.
Now the dry shafts can go back inside.
Pull it down.
You know, when you do a video,
Okay, let go.
when you do videos, fucking it's weird. It doesn't go. Yeah, I can hold it. Put it in.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Yeah, what you need to do is straighten that a bit off. Yeah, it's in.
Okay, take 1 second.
Yeah.
Take my cover off.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Use the rubber hammer to knock it back inside and put the bolt inside to secure it. I do not have a spec how torque some of these bolts are, so just good and tight. And always double check it with any manual tool to make sure they are tight. So now the hub bolt, 32 Newton meters.
No people come with coffee. I'll do
Lock the rasher from spinning, and to torque it is 255 Newton meters of torque for this hub nut. I think went a little bit over, but nonetheless it's gonna hold fine there. Why it is not recommended to over torque some of these bolts, especially these hub bolts, as they could put extra pressure to the bearings and they could wear the bearings more quicker out. Just something to keep in mind. And same thing we proceed to do on the other side. Now back and go the bottom engine mount.
Yeah.
Now the starter motor. There's two 13mm bolts.
Yeah.
And this bracket for the cable management or wiring looms or everything.
Found two 10
I found some
nuts.
10mm
So-
nuts to secure it in place. The ones that previously somebody has removed. So I will secure this in place.
10 mil. Yeah. So
Now the 3 bolts on the top for the bell housing. So this is how they're secured. They just push clip on, and then they're not coming out only by screwing or pulling quite a big force. So 2 further down the bolts are with these sticking out threads, and then the standard bolt is closer to the starter motor.
Yep.
and this is 13.
And 13mm to tighten. And now we can push the wiring loom on it. And it will sit there nice and tight. Now we connect back the clutch fluid line. Here there's like weird clip, I couldn't figure out how to explain it to you, but basically that there's like a grommet that slides inside onto the engine mount bracket like so, and that it holds it in secure place. Now you put the tray underneath to catch the brake fluid. Now is a good time to bleed the clutch, and to bleed this clutch you pull out the pin. Not all the way, just like a halfway there, and pull like halfway out, and here we can see the fluid start coming out and bubbles coming out. So this is the procedure how you bleed this clutch out. A lot of Japanese cars have the same procedure, and just leave it for like 5 to 10 minutes bleeding out, and then once that time has passed and you see no more bubbles coming out, it's just fluid, push it back inside and push the clip, and you go inside the car, you check if you have a nice clutch, and if you're happy with it, then you don't have to come back here anymore. Now the gear selector cables, 3 10mm bolts, 2 at the top and 1 on the side, and then I secured them and tied them with the ratchet. Now the cables itself, they just push on. The reverse switch, the way how I figure out what I'm gonna do with it is I pushed it on and I'm gonna put the cable tie around it and secure it from lifting up.
Zip tie.
And then for the next mechanic who's gonna come, he just have to cut the cable tie, and he can do whatever he's supposed to do there. Definitely much more easier and much more smarter way than to use the super glue. And this, I put it around it and it's not gonna go anywhere.
That's not gonna go anywhere. Take this.
Now the rest of the wirings can come off. That's another 10mm bolt there. I mean nut. So there was this bracket that was broken, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put the cable tie. There was a cable tie before, but like a special one, so I'm just gonna put the standard cable tie to prevent these pipes from wiggling back and forth or hitting some other thing, because it's very close to the gear selector cables, and as you shift in the gears you might scrape those pipes, and over time you can make a hole in them. And believe it or not, you don't need much force to make a hole in any of these parts. Everything is over time. Now the surge straps. The upper side, the right side, just clips in, and then there's a 10mm bolt to secure it in place. I'm sorry, I mean 8mm. Now we can fill back inside the gearbox oil. So we're using the same oil, we drained it out, whatever came out we put it back inside. As it's only 2 years old and it's still in good shape and good condition. Now the inner wheel arch and the wheels. Now the battery tray bracket that I thought was held in by 3 nuts, 10mm nuts, but it's actually with 2. I unscrew the third 3, and the middle one actually goes on top of the battery tray. And here I'll remove it in a second. So here I struggle to put to secure correctly under the battery tray, and I understand that one of these nuts has to be screwed on top of the battery tray. That's battery tray secured. Now we can put in place the ECU. It slides on this top thread and then 2 bolts on the side. Here again, another mistake. Obviously, as I'm doing this first time on this Kuga, couple things you're not aware of. This wiring loom has to go first underneath the battery tray. So I'm removing battery tray once more, lift it up, secure these wiring loom or cables, and screw the battery tray back inside. Now the battery can go in. The battery brackets and 1 bracket at the top. That is held in by 2 10mm nuts and 1 8mm bolt. We can connect the battery back. And the air filter housing assembly is just pushes in, slides in. Then the boost pipe from the intercooler to throttle body. Now this upper intake pipe. Held in place by 2 Torx at 30, two screws, and a small cover. Air filter can go back inside, and the upper air filter housing. Before I put that, I need to connect this, well, you could do this afterwards as well, this vacuum line. This intake pipe. Now I need to fish out the cable for the mass airflow sensor. Here it is. Push it in and secure these Jubilee clips for these pipes. Okay, now I can start the car. Now we can check for any leaks and put the under tray back inside. And on this we have come to an end of another everyday value mechanic video. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate all your comments and thumbs up. You have helped the channel to grow over this last year, and I hope it's gonna grow even bigger with your help and your support. So thank you all for watching. Your valued mechanic out.